Alright, this is Firelord issue 55. It is a Legends tie-in, and it is the first issue in John Ostrander's run on Firelord. He writes the book all the way until issue 100 when it is cancelled. John Ostrander is also involved with the main Legends series, so this tie-in is miles better than the other one I looked at. Even though Electron is on the cover, he isn't really in this issue, which created a false illusion to me that I needed his tie-in issue because it seemed to be linked to this one. It's not, and he is in one panel of this. The coordination of this crossover is still pretty crap. They list the tie-ins as chapters on the cover, but then inside they will refer to stuff that hasn't happened yet in the main series if you follow that order. We're picking up here in the middle of the Justice League's fight with Brimstone, and actually on these two pages we get all the backstory stuff we saw in Legends #1, how Brimstone was created, how he fought Firelord, and then beat up Electron before Justice League Detroit showed up. Well, Brimstone, he brings down a building on top of them, and Firelord is the only one left to fight Brimstone. I have reviewed Firelord comics in the past, but to quickly explain who he is, Firelord is a composite being made up of two people. This here is the classic and the best dynamic. We have a high school slacker called Robbie Amell, and he fuses with a 50-year hard scientist called Jack Bristow. The other thing with Firelord is that he is stupidly overpowered. He has molecular transmutation energy powers, and honestly, so many of the powers that he whips out will have you screaming, that is bullshit. I think there was one comic that I looked at where there was a bunch of nuclear missiles that were about to hit America, and Firelord waved his hand and transformed them all into snow. Now it is time for round 2 between Firelord and Brimstone. I mentioned in Legends 1, after this crossover, Brimstone becomes one of Firelord's recurring bad guys. He is a good villain for him, but I also think Brimstone is just a pretty good villain overall. You have this big fire monster thing, and that by itself is a fun concept. There's not really anything to his character. He's pretty thin, but it's like a classic comic book villain. It is something big for the heroes to fight. This is satisfying as a tie-in because it expands on this Brimstone stuff. And I thought the Brimstone stuff was some of the strongest parts of Legends. I think there is more worth in having something big and enormous that the heroes fight than the rather lame stuff with the public rejecting heroes and Darkseid watching it all on telly. Brimstone, he has a motive. It's not important, but he has been created by Darkseid to destroy and wipe out anything that doesn't worship Darkseid as a god. And there is actually an aspect that they could build on where, and it is actually on this page, it's up here. He says that he wants to earn Darkseid's love. So if you wanted to do a character piece with Brimstone, I think you could do something with that. I didn't think it would really be worth doing. I just want to read about a big fire monster destroying things. That is something else that this does better than even the main Legends comic. This gives us a good look at the level of destruction that Brimstone has wrought. This legitimizes some of the stuff about the public opinion going on with this story. Most of the Legends tie-ins are a waste of time. They are inconsequential. They are only worth reading if you are already reading whatever series it is that is tying in. And this one, it stands out in that if you are reading Legends, this is like the main tie-in. I would say is worth checking out. We even get a little wink to the forthcoming debut of Suicide Squads out in the main Legends book. We have got that Tyler Perry character here, and this leads straight into the events of Legends number 3. Now though, we start getting more traditional Legends tie-in fare. We have got our hero, and the public have turned on them, and there are angry crowds. We do have a pretty good divide and debate between the two halves of Firelord. Robbie Amell wants to go and save lives, but Jack Bristow, he is buying into and agreeing with all the anti-superhero rhetoric that is going around at the minute. So he refuses to combine with Robbie Amell to become Firelord anymore. Here is some proper Legends tie-in stuff. We have some guy, he is watching the telly, and he becomes radicalized by this current boycott of all the superheroes. And so he starts inciting mobs and stuff like that. And like every reasonable group of people ever, they attack a library and start burning books. Robbie Amell argues with Jack Bristow about stopping this riot as Firelord. And also in the library is Swaller from Spit and Swallow, which confused me at first because he is drawn looking too similar to Robbie Amell. So then what happens is Robbie Amell, he forces the change into Firelord, despite Jack Bristow's reluctance. And this has the knock-on effect of when they are in the Firelord form, he cannot control Firelord well because their fusion wasn't harmonious. It wasn't consensual, I suppose you could say. So he cannot fly very well, and he is fallen over, and it is like he is a drunk. So the mob, they easily overpower him, and then they burn Firelord alongside all the evil books. This is a pretty good issue. It is a worthwhile tie-in to a crossover, and I think there is some nice stuff done with Firelord. Immediately, John Ostrich begins his run on the book with some decent comic going on. I rate this 7 thumbs up.